Hi, so now we're going to look at forward rolling. We've already set up the premise of bringing your weight forwards like this. So going back and look at that practice again in Ukemi. Put your hands on your hips. Hiriki ni osai chi. Hips! So while we're doing Kion Dosa, you might emphasize that the hips have to shift forward. And to do that, you might make people push their hips too far forward. So I just want everyone to move their hips 2 or 3 inches more forward, putting your weight into your big toe. So the back foot almost certainly will have to move. The other thing to emphasize is that the hips cannot come up. And knee, come on, right? So if you want to practice something, practice from a deep position, shifting your weight forwards a little bit too far. And if you have to take a step afterwards, that's okay, because that's the point when you lose your balance, and that's the point where you would roll. So, moving into forward rolling, I want to diagnose the brake force first of all. Take a step back. So I'm going to explain for the beginner level. You're going to step deep. This is after you've moved from the ground. So if you're confident enough to come up onto your feet, we're going to move into this kind of forward. On the ground, point of note, we can start with the shoulders, and this helps us get the line across the back to the opposite hip here. When they're confident doing that, we can build up, making this circle initially, or like this. It doesn't really matter because we're concentrating on the circle of the arm now. And then this way. And then we try and emphasize that they roll along the line. If you look, there's a circle from my right hand to my left hip. And that's the line that we fall on when we break. So we're learning that line. So we just have to make sure that they have a line as a guide, or you have a line. If you're confident doing that, it's actually not a far cry to just bring this foot up here and make that line. And that's essentially where we take it from standing. So we step deep, reach out. The hand must go at least a foot in front of your front foot. The biggest habit that I've noticed is people swinging from here. This is unhealthy because all of your falls in the initial period are going to be projection falls, so away from your partner. So twofold. It will mess up your partner's technique and you'll fall next to them instead of away from them, which affects the feeling of the front. It will, if your partner does throw you down, well, if your partner's throwing you down and you are throwing you down, you are going down, and you will not be trained to compensate for that power. So for safety and for technique, we're going forwards. And that's the thing that you need to emphasize in your training. Don't think around because you just want to get over. The thing that carries you over from this kind of falling is the back leg. The back leg goes over and acts like a counterweight, bringing your body over into the correct position for the fall. It is not your head throwing down that brings your body over. It is your back foot traveling over your head. So we go forwards. So when I take it fast forward a little bit, it looks kind of like this. And you see the straight line that the lock position, the hip here is strong. So that the back heel is connected to the shoulder. And then it can counter the weight. If I allow this to bend here, then that makes sense as to why you're swinging down, because you haven't got the counterweight. And it looks kind of like that. And you can see, and some people I've seen in training, I've seen people headbutt their knee sometimes because this is not connected. And that's a real check for yourself. When you look down as you're going over, if you can do it slowly, you should be able to see your foot. You shouldn't be looking at your knee. So we take a deep position, reach out, and we touch about a foot in front of the body. At least a foot, I would say. Chin on chest. If you need to find your balance, that's okay. At the beginner level, from this point, if you're afraid, or that's nothing to worry about, you can allow this hand to come forward to stop you from falling down. You want the weight, just like this feeling, you want the weight to go into the front big toe. So we practice by touching and making that, we're in a deep position so that we can, if the line breaks, it only breaks a little bit. As I go forward, you can do this slowly or you can do this quickly. Most people do this quickly because it's difficult to do slowly. The back leg must travel over the head. The front foot at this point, when I lose balance, that's why the hand is down, pushes hard and then tucks in to my groin. And I fall along a straight line here. And if you notice, I don't bring the hand back at all. That's very important. I go past the hand. Go past the hand. So we're checking for a couple of things, not slapping at the moment, because we're checking for sound and we're checking for body position. Like all of your Aikido, if you get the form right first, the rest of it will be a piece of cake. And if there's a problem with it, you've got to look at the form. So we're going to practice that, nice and slow. This is the basic level, so if you're a beginner and you've just started doing your break falls, this is really how you want to practice. So nice and slow, take a deep position, reach out, make sure the elbow is forwards. This is a rare thing in your Aikido training. That's it, deeper, Joe, if you can go deeper, no, with your legs, deeper with your legs. So legs further apart, if they will. And then reach forward and touch in front of your foot. Doesn't matter if it's a foot because you're smaller than me. Yes. And make sure you don't split your make the hand strong so that you don't catch your finger on the floor. So you don't want to bring this back, you're going to go past that way. Where your hands are touched, you're going past that. If it helps you, make a fist. And put the little finger forward with the fist. That's it. So you're going to bring your weight, just like the feeling in Kyodosa, through your front knee. So don't let the front knee get in the way. Keep it strong, go through it, and push with the front foot when you feel like you're going to lose your balance. If you want to use your left hand, do so. Hajime. Nice. And then you come back. So, we had some success there from the black belts, excellent. So moving on to the more advanced practice. We need to check that you're not breaking the line. And this will take you from, this is like a stepping stone as well, onto the flipping falls. Okay, so we're going to do it to the count. I'll demonstrate first. Step into Kamae. I'm going to step deeper, itch. I'm going to bring my weight to my front knee, so my back foot comes off the ground. If they lose the balance, they must fight for it. It doesn't matter if they touch the ground like this. What matters is they're trying to maintain this straight line from the heel to the head. It's very difficult. Some touch the ground here, and they can use this to balance only. There shouldn't be any weight on this hand, they should balance. So you need that. The back foot should be coming straight out of the hip, so it shouldn't be below the hip. And you can, depending on how evil you feel, you can practice this for as long as you want, okay, or as slow as you want. Chin on chest, this hand, the head must be within this circle when you fall. Now the weight comes forward. Shi is going to be a hop, just to make sure the weight is forward. Go. Here. Now, maintaining that position is very hard and very tough on your knees. So depending on your level and your physical condition is how long you are going to hold those positions. Even if you can't hold those positions, in the fall you don't hold those positions. So as long as you can pick up the idea that your weight goes forward and you keep that straight line, then it will serve you to watch this and try and pick up the idea. So, stepping forward, come on, 2, 1, knee, san, touch, shi, go forward. Again, make sure the hand does not come back. And if you are being your own teacher, if you like, you must make sure that the heel is above your hip, or at least level with it. That's very difficult, and there's no point really lying to yourself about it. If it's not, you need to practice it a little bit more, that's all. and get that feeling. Now the actual fall, when you take the reins off, is very much easier. Reach, keep that line, the back foot goes in a nice arc over your head. So at some point, if a giant was looking down on you falling, they wouldn't be able to see your leg because it's straight out of your shoulder, upside down. And that's the idea of the back leg. It takes you over like a counter roll. Okay, so with the forward rolls, they are a different fall to the high falls or flips, but they teach you a lot of the basics that you need for the high falls and flips. So we can move nice and smoothly to the high falls and flips. One good practice at this point is rolling with a slap. So we'll just do a couple of those. So that. Break the fall. Good. Now, as the teacher, I'm checking the landing position and the returning speed. If the returning speed is fast, you don't need to do this bit. Just come forwards and lie down. Good. We're going to practice our landing position. So earlier on we practiced the landing position without the actual landing position. So what I want you to do is face this way slightly on your left hip, and your left heel should be off the ground, and your right shoulder should be off the ground, and your left shoulder should be on the ground, left hand at 45 degrees, right foot on the ground flat, nice and close to your bottom. Now, extend the left leg out like you've done a football kick this way, sliding football kick. So that's very important. There should be the foot should be sideways to the ceiling. The body should be straight from the shoulder to the hip, and the foot feeling is like he's extending out to kick this wall in, not coming down. This changes the angle slightly. If you feel like you're making this circle really quick, you're going to hit your ankle, and I don't want to do that twice. So feel like once you go past the apex of the circle, extending that foot out, and you'll get more success not kicking the floor. So we're just going to turn to the other side. Slapping the ground, changing your body position to the other side. So this is from a left fall. So the right hip is on the ground, the left foot is pointed out, and the knee is off the ground. It should be a fairly straight line from the shoulder to the foot. Right hand at 45 degrees. The head often will wilt. You need to make sure that the head is in line with the spine. So your back is at an angle, so your head should be coming forward, crossing that angle, touching the chin to the chest. Change the other side. Good. For more advanced practices of this, you can then start to turn, kicking the hips off the floor, which looks like this. Good. Check your landing position by making sure that there's a gap between your right side and the floor, and the left hip and the left shoulder is on the floor. This hand is at 45 degrees. Sa! Shi! Good. Okay. On your feet. So now, moving on to the flips. We can relate to the flips by talking about the weight coming forward. So the basic practice of high falling, flip falling, as sometimes called, is from a handshake. Very important that this partner, if you're timid of falling, is a senior, and we have a crash mat if you're not happy with the fall. The senior must hold strong here, a little bit lower. So it needs to be at the height that they're generally going to fall, which if you finish your technique, it's generally about here, so this is where I'm going to flip from. Now, if you've developed the habit of sending your head to the floor, this is where it won't serve you. So you need to make sure you've got the habit of kicking the back foot over the head. Avoid doing a hybrid fall, half roll, which should be contact from here all the way down the back across to this hip. Constant contact with the floor. You actually don't leave the floor with that unless you're doing an extended fall. With a flip fall, you leave the floor and you hit it one time. So we grab here, and there should be one bang. If there's two bangs, you're hitting hand, foot. If you're hitting hand, foot, even if it's just small, you're going to be sharpening the knee, so you need to try and get the timing so that you are flat when you land. If you've got 3 bangs, you're hitting hand, foot, foot, and then you're going to be smashing this ankle. So you need to wind that back quite quickly to make your force safe. So if you're doing that, I suggest crash mat practice. The senior needs to remain strong and not drop to the floor like this. That is the worst thing you can do for a junior grade learning their flip falls. Even a senior grade, they might not be comfortable flipping like that. It's a lot easier to fall from a throw than it is on your own. So they're developing the strength in their toes to do so. Once you practice that, moving on to a more advanced level, you get the student shoulder down level, you can practice this. They just put the palm out like this, bending their knees. He's protecting his face, that's a very sensible idea. And the shoulder will push against this hand. So they come in here and push. And you must keep the contact there. Knee down and above. One finger, don't push. So you want to keep the contact here. It's quite important that you have the control and the time and the kind of feel in your arm. You're controlling yourself in real time by that point. This is why stomach exercises and your core muscles are so important, because the only thing that can change your fate once you've left the floor is your stomach. It expands and contracts the body, and it's the only thing that will stop you from hurting yourself once you've left the floor. So that's beginner level to advanced practice in that way. There are variations on that. Make a ball. You can grab here and flip over the top. This does a different this is like you're being projected forwards. A good check for this is whether your head is dropping down here, next to him here. Your head doesn't drop until your body is almost ready to land. So you should keep your head up here. If your head drops down here, it means when you're thrown, your head will almost certainly come way too close to the floor or actually hit the floor. And that, you'll only want to do that one time before you give up Aikido, and I really don't want that. So, maybe shoulder down level, put the hand on the back of his back, right here, close, and you can push as you go over. And again, you should start to have the time in the air to see and notice whether you're dropping here. If you're knee down and above, don't push. Everything comes from the toe. So they shouldn't feel you at all. But you have a hand there as a check. Okay, thanks, man. Really, that's all I've got to show you in this practice, but there are many exercises, and often in a class, like I said in the other video, a student jokingly called me the Ukemi doctor the other day. And as a good teacher, will diagnose what you need to go forward, and it will come up with an exercise that helps you. So this hopefully has shown you the idea and the principles that you need, but it's not exclusive of any other exercises or practices. But make sure that everything you're doing is a natural movement of the body and helpful to your practice. And check your habits. Things like turning too early and doing stuff, exaggerated movements like this. The floor isn't your enemy. You have to, you have enough power when you go to the floor to hit it hard enough to break the fall. That is by nature of your fall. You're being thrown with that power. So you don't need to exaggerate that. That's very important. And the reason for that is if you are too busy exaggerating things with an exaggerated movement of any kind, here to flip, when you're being thrown, you will be doing that instead of falling. And when it gets to a higher level or a demonstrative practice, then that will mean injury, because when you should have been hitting the floor at one time and really quite hard, you were drawing the hand back or lifting this up to throw your head down, which means you've pulled a muscle, hit the ground at the wrong angle and hurt yourself, and then you'll give up. So cultivate good practices. Like our Goshin Waza, it needs to be testable and provable under harsh circumstances. Awesome.